Hi everyone, welcome back to another lesson. Today we are looking at age level characteristics across school stages. And here we'll be talking mostly about Piaget and Vygotsky. We're going to have a brief overview of the importance of the understanding of age level characteristics, especially as it pertains to educational psychology. And we are going to analyze how these characteristics influence your teaching, your strategies, and it also will influence your classroom management. Then, at some point, you will design age appropriate activities that reflect all of the developmental needs of your students. And why are these age level characteristics important? Why do they matter? Because it will guide effective instruction. It will help you to understand the developmental stages of your students and help you tailor your lessons towards them. It will help you with classroom management, as I was saying, and you will have some effective lesson planning as well. So let's look at these individual stages. So when we look at pre-K and K, their cognitive level, there's lots of rapid language development happening. They're learning words, they're learning sight words, they're very concrete thinkers, and they have a short attention span. They're very curiosity driven, and so they're constantly asking why, of course. Socially, they're learning to cooperate, they're learning to share. And that's why it's important to parallel play evolving into group play so that they can learn these tools. They're forming attachments to each other and to you as their teacher. Emotionally speaking, they're expressing their feelings openly. They're always wanting adult approval. Teacher, is this okay? Teacher, is this right? They're developing, and hopefully they're developing their self-regulation. Physically, they are developing their large motor skills. So they're running and jumping and skipping and playing hopscotch, all of those things. And their fine motor skills are just starting to emerge. So they're drawing, their precision, cutting, things of that nature. In the primary grades 1 through 3, their cognitive levels are beginning to now move into the logical thought. They're learning to read and write better. They're eager to explore new concepts. Socially, friends are now becoming important. They're cooperatively learning. They're understanding rules and fairness. You'll hear things like, this isn't fair, or this isn't right, or so and so wasn't fair. Emotionally, they're super sensitive to criticism. They're developing their self-esteem, and they need a lot of encouragement during these grades. Physically, they've got some steady growth happening. They're improving their coordination. They've got high levels of energy. Now let's move on to grades 4 and 5. Cognitively, again, their increased ability for abstract thinking is increasing at this level. Problem solving is occurring, reasoning. Socially, their peer groups are really starting to influence them. Peer pressure really hits hard here. Teamwork and group projects become more effective. Now everyone is a little bit more cognizant with who's supposed to be doing what. Emotionally, they start developing a little bit of independence and self-consciousness, and that may increase a little bit more as they get older. They're starting to handle more complex emotions, not meaning that we should give them adult emotions, but they're starting to handle complex emotions. Physically, they're going to have some growth spurts here. This is when it all starts. And they're refining their fine motor skills. Now let's move on to middle school, 6th through 8th grade, 5th through 8th grade, around in there. Cognitively, now they're developing their critical thinking skills, abstract skills. They're interested in more complex objects and topics. Socially, they have a strong sense of peer acceptance. They're starting to explore their identity, And they're also at this age is where they're starting to develop some possible conflicts with authority. Emotionally, lots of mood swings, heightened self awareness, and their need for autonomy is starting to grow strong here. Physically, puberty is beginning. They're going to have rapid physical changes, and they're going to be keenly aware and concerned about their appearance. Now in high school, ninth through 12th grade, their reasoning skills are more advanced. Their planning, their decision-making skills are developing, and they're using them more. They're preparing and planning for more adult roles. Socially, they've got this deep sense of relationships and deepening those relationships across the board. Their leadership skills are going to play out more here. They may even look for leadership opportunities. They're going to start focusing on the future. Emotionally, again, they're searching more for their identity. They want more increased emotional maturity. They are managing their stress and pressure a little bit better. Physically, physical maturity is somewhat reached, and their focus shifts to health and fitness because remember, they're more aware of their bodies and who they are. So again, the stages are pre-KK, primary grades 1 through 3, elementary grades 4 through 5, middle school 6 through 8, and high school 9 through 12. And these may fluctuate just a bit. So at this point, you guys are going to have a jigsaw activity where you break up into one of these individual groups. And as you move into the jigsaw activity, you're going to research a little bit more about your specific age bracket. You want to look at what characteristics are in each of these age groups cognitively, socially, emotionally, and physically. And then you're going to want to create some activities. So let's look at those. Some activities for pre-K and K may include story time with puppets, lots of physical movement. Anytime you can get students to interact with the story, not only does it include or improve their language development cognitively, but also their social skills. It supports language development and social interaction. Some ways that you could differentiate this activity would be with various expressions or voices. Encourage the students to make voices and use different expressions. Let them utilize and to start discovering their learning styles. Allow children to choose the puppets or to act out the parts. Of course, during pre-K and K, you're going to want to include lots of movement games, brain breaks. These are activities that will support their large motor skill development, so that physical need, and it also helps children to learn how to cooperate and play well with others. And it will help improve their social and emotional levels. And you can differentiate by adapting the games for any children that may have physical challenges, by also including some seated movement or using soft equipment. You could pair children to encourage peer support. Now, when we look at the primary grades, grades 1 through 3, some activities that you might choose might be math manipulatives because it's hands-on learning from math. This helps with cognitive learning, which also encourages some cooperative learning. When you pair this with small group work, this will help develop their social skills. How to differentiate these activities would be providing various types of manipulatives, varying complex manipulatives, and allow students to work in pairs or small groups. offer visual aids to those who might need some extra support. Another activity for this age bracket may be cooperative group reading. So this is going to build their reading skills on a cognitive level. It's going to support friends and teamwork, which will also develop their social skills. It will boost their self-esteem through positive feedback from you and from their classmates. To differentiate any type of cooperative reading groups, you could assign reading roles based on ability, use audiobooks for some auditory learners, and also encourage a little bit of peer mentoring. Students at this age are eager to explore. They're very sensitive to criticism, so keep that in mind. And they thrive on encouragement. So activities should be structured, interactive, and very supportive. So let's look at the elementary grades. And again, 4 through 5, but it could even be 3 through 5. Here's some sample activities, might include some science experiments. You'll want to encourage inquiry and reasoning and abstract thinking. This is all to build their cognitive levels. Also, while working in groups and building teamwork. To differentiate some science experiments, you could offer multiple steps for advanced learners and some simplified versions for those needing a little bit of extra support. Also, utilize visual instructions and allow for verbal and written explanations. At this age level, class debates would be wonderful to introduce. This will help them develop their communication skills and reasoning. And of course, this is all cognitive and social development. And it helps students to handle more complex emotions like disagreements and how to handle them properly, more importantly. To differentiate this type of activity, you would allow students to prepare in advance, use sentence starters, provide alternate formats like written, oral, or visual for expressing their opinions. And these activities work because students are developing their abstract thinking and their independence. So these activities should be challenging and challenge their reasoning, but also promote group work and allow for self-exploration and self-expression. Now let's move on to middle school activities. Here you'll want to utilize project-based learning. So for instance, like a history timeline. This encourages critical thinking and allows students to have some deeper exploration of a topic. This is going to develop their cognitive learning. And again, include group projects because this supports peer interaction. And for differentiation, you could allow a choice in the project topics, even the format, whether it's a digital item, a poster, oral, and also group size. You could scaffold the tasks for students who might need a little bit more structure. Also in this age bracket, they love to mentor. So provide social support, and it also helps with identity exploration, so social emotional growth. When you pair students intellectually by interest or skill level and provide guidelines for positive feedback, this is a great way to differentiate. Adolescents at this age level, they want peer acceptance. They also want autonomy. They are also experiencing rapid physical and emotional changes and growth. So these activities allow for collaboration, a little bit of self-direction, and also discussion. Now those high schoolers. Some activities for them could be Socratic seminars where it's promoting advanced reasoning skills and critical thinking skills, and also encouraging respectful debates. So this is social and emotional learning. To differentiate a Socratic seminar, you could provide guiding questions, allow for written responses for those who are a little bit more uncomfortable speaking in front of others, but also encourage small group discussions before whole class sharing. Another sample activity for high school is career exploration. This is super important. It helps students think and plan for the future. This is also developing their cognitive skills. They're wanting to develop their leadership skills, whether they're involved in a club or organization, but have some leadership opportunities in your classrooms as well. This will develop them socially, and also it helps them to manage their stress about what happens after school. So this will also develop their emotional levels. To differentiate a career exploration project, you could offer a wide range of project formats, whether it's interviews, research papers, presentations, something digital, a video, you name it. And also, it connects students with mentors and community resources. And high school students are preparing for these adult roles. They're seeking identity. Their identity may be changing. They're managing this increased stress. So these activities are intellectually challenging, they're relevant to their interests, and they support overall emotional growth. Remember that we have to adapt for diverse needs. So flexible grouping, mixed ability levels, mixed interest groups to foster peer support. Allow students to use multiple formats, whether they're demonstrating learning through writing, speaking, drawing, technology, audio, you name it. Scaffolding breaks tasks into manageable steps and also provides checklists like rubrics for visual aids. And then when you give the students choice, it lets students select their topic, their role, and their format based on their strengths and their interests. And then also encourage peer feedback, but make sure you have clear, concise instructions to be positive, specific, and very constructive. After that activity, in our class, we will have a gallery walk where groups will present either a poster or a slide or a video on each age bracket. Students will circulate through the class. They will take notes, ask questions. Each group can provide a handout or an anchor chart with sample activities for their age group. And so this gives students a way to learn about a specific grade level, but then also walk the room and learn some new information about other grade levels and age levels. Another activity that we could do is an interactive activity to design and defend. So basically, each student will select a age group again, and then design a 10-minute classroom activity tailored to that specific age group's needs, whether it's cognitively, emotionally, socially, or physically. You can do this in pairs. You can do this in PLCs, professional learning communities, based on your content. And then also, this will enable you all to provide feedback to each other. Does the activity match the developmental profile? Is it engaging? Is it appropriate? Those types of questions. And here again are some of the examples of activities that I mentioned before for each grade level or each age level. And when you're thinking about age characteristics, we also need to take into consideration assessments and make sure they're appropriate based on their age level and all of their characteristics. So we would want them to participate in groups and individual activities. As I mentioned previously, their submissions could be reflective. How does, ask them questions. So something for you guys, a reflective type question would be, how does understanding age level characteristics improve teaching effectiveness? You could also utilize KWL charts whenever you're doing assessments, but make sure everything that you're doing is appropriate for your grade level or an age level. Some extensions and connections could be linking to future assignments, linking to some past experiences, real world situations, case studies, um, observations. Encourage students to observe real world things, and for you all, it would be real world classrooms. So when you're out there in the field doing your observations, these are some things to note. The age level characteristics, because you're going to see them all in action. So some key takeaways: developmental characteristics shape your teaching strategies, and adapting instruction for diverse stages is challenging, but it's essential, and it's something that you need to take in consideration every time you're developing your lessons or activities. And all of this is grounded in educational psychology theory and practice. As always, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you in the classroom.